Hello, this is Mitch Tarr, founder and CEO of Zin Marketing Inc. Today, we have a real treat for you. We are interviewing Patrick O'Shea, who is the founder and chief designer and CEO of Zeta Saddles. It's a story of a small brand taking on the big guys and winning. You would think that there's nothing new under the sun in cycling, but there very much is, especially towards the end where he explains that as a new brand, how he took on and got himself into the industry and made himself relevant. It's a great story and some great advice in there. Tune in. Patrick, thanks for joining me today.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll just jump right in. Tell us, in a 30,000, 60,000 foot view, the history of your brand.
Yeah, being a chiropractor, treating a lot of cyclists and being a cyclist myself, I've always heard so many complaints about bike seats not being comfortable. And it was a professional cyclist, actually, I was treating, complained about why don't they make better seats? So I explained why and essentially how foam compresses. It doesn't have any real function or action, and it makes the seat harder, especially over time. So that really got me thinking more about it. And I told her, when I gave her the reason why it didn't work, she said, "You need to make a seat." And then, I kind of went to work researching materials, and I researched combining things. I did a lot of work on it, about a year. But then once I found the materials to work with, I knew it worked. And so then I went to, getting into production. All that takes so much longer than you think.
Yeah.
Prototypes.
So you spent a year doing research and development. During that time, didn't it occur to you that there's like lots of big bike companies that are already solving this problem?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I was saying, why am I even trying to do this? And I realized, because of my background understanding physics and specifically the body biophysics and biomechanics, that dampening of force is what I was working with. I was trying to solve the actual physical problem, the interface, right? The rider and the bike, and you need a buffer. And foam or any kind of padding gel, they don't have anything structural to do that work. So when I played around with it, I looked into these higher end materials, and they were out of aerospace kind of direction. And then I combined them. But once I found that, I tested it myself, and I said, if it works for me, it's going to work for anybody. But that's what got me on that track, that the big brands are not solving the problem. They're just like creating, same factories make all the seats, a lot of big factories, people just put their logo on the seat. So that's where I knew I had something, though. I let people test it.
Yeah.
And that made me say I had a chance.
So who then are the customers that are ideal for you? Who are you chasing or helping, I should say?
Yeah, I think primarily road bike customers. I think it's hard when gravel's getting so much more popular, but I'd say from the casual to the elite, competitive athletes, most biking, I think road, gravel, or mountain biking would be the main targets. And people that are looking for comfort, because some people want to buy the lightest seat out there. My materials are a little heavier than foam. So I think our customers are telling us that this seat just works, disappears underneath me. So I think I'd love to have as many people experience it. And for the most part, so I want people to enjoy riding and being healthy, having fun. And if they want to chase down either personal goals and they want to ride those centuries, or they want to race and compete, I want to have them on a Zeta saddle.
Is it fairly common that people have problems with their bike seats, or is this a really select group of elite athletes?
Yeah, no, it's well known in cycling. It's the main contact point, the rider and the bike, and the feet and the hands will be the other main contact points. But it's very well known, and bike fitting is meant to help that to a degree. It does, but the materials of the padding are the real issue. So even though the proper size seat and even the style of the seat for the riding they do, and getting a bike fit, people still have issues. So it's very well known. People get numbness, ED, even there's people have bigger issues, and the people that don't think it's a problem. They go, "I have no problem," but that they're in the minority. So
Yeah,
the longer you're on the bike too makes a difference.
yeah. So the people that ride for what, like half hour or longer, an hour or longer, when does the pain start?
Yeah, so for some people, they can even experience numbness within 10 minutes. Pain will
Wow.
come on, sometimes the pain discomfort comes on longer, like 20 to 30 minutes, an hour. But anybody that wants to ride more than an hour, that's when it really becomes a bigger issue. I think overall, that's what we would hear the most. And it's that contact pressure over time creates that kind of a bruising, tender feeling. And that's when the padding isn't working on most bike seats at that point.
Is your padding different? How is it different?
Yeah, so it's unique. I developed a patent. It's a formula of each layer is different, and it's essentially these high-end elastomers. They have a molecular structure where there's longer chains, and we call cross-linking. So when you sink into it, this is the quality of the material. It actually sets up and surrounds the sit bone to protect them, and then the bottom layer is a shock absorbing layer. So essentially, it has a function. So I call it reactive padding. It reacts to the body, conforms, and if you get out of the saddle and come back down, it doesn't lose its, like foam compresses, it loses that the compression set of the material. It doesn't function as well. So our materials are actually reactive. They'll be ready to go if you get out of the saddle and sit down, or if you move to a more aggressive riding position. That material is there to basically be a buffer, as I said earlier. So having a patent as well, I just described as high-end elastomers, but the materials come from different categories, and then the density level is a number, and each number. So when you put it all together, that combination of layers and different materials, they set up to create that reactive shock absorption and support.
Yeah. So you said the magic word patent. Tell us about that process. Was that easy? Was it difficult? Was it expensive? How
Yeah,
was that?
yeah, it's crazy. I did a provisional patent first, which is a little easier and cheaper to start, just have protection for up to a year. And but then when I got in to get the utility patent done, there's a lot of back and forth. And the route I went, I was fortunate to have some patent attorney I knew, and he advised me to go like get certain things done before I start the next step. And so, but the time it took is like 2.5 years just to get that done. And to manufacture overseas, I wanted that patent final before I made that step. So it just delayed starting Zeta Saddles. And but the developing the materials themselves and even the research to say, how do I make this? Is this patentable? And so once I got through all that, it was assured to me that you just have to, get the approval, which I think it's less than 5% of the patents are approved the first time through. So it's about 95% chance you're going to resubmit, answer their questions, and they'll go, okay, we'll get back to you. You wait another 3, 4, or 5 months. But yeah, that process, it was very interesting. And I'm able to, any other designs or things I do, it'll fall under that utility patent. So I can add to it. So it's kind of a nice base to have that for as far as the padding design and the utility part of the
Yeah.
patent.
Yeah, that's cool. So when did you actually launch into the marketplace?
Yeah, I officially launched with Zen Marketing was in January of 2024. The whole year of 2023 was basically going through production for each of the models. I launched 5 saddles to start with. And so, yeah, this is a start beginning here. January 2026 is our beginning of the 3rd year. So it's exciting.
And so then, when you launched, how did you do that? How did you get a website? How did you decide to do your packaging? Did you do any shows? But what did you do to get out on the street?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to get out to some shows. I did do the first show I did a tour to Palm Springs, and being out there that was good. I had a Shopify website built, and then having help getting that design dialed in a little better, improving it. And Seattle I did in April of that year, 2024. That's the biggest event. So that was a lot of fun. Getting out in front of customers is very rewarding to be essentially getting feedback, right in with all these other brands. I'm brand new, so being there the first time was a little, interesting, I'll say. But I got a lot of great feedback from people in the industry, and of course, the people that are at the Sea Otter event.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's a really good point because a lot of people launch a brand and they get on a website and they get out and selling, but they're not really talking to people, like we used to in the old days. You do a trade show and you see them face to face. So have you got any stories from the Tour de Palm Springs trade show where you were seeing people and there was anything surprising about that you didn't expect?
yeah, it got easier at first. I'm like want to be answer questions, but I'm not big on being a salesperson. That's not doesn't come natural for me. But the things people would tell you, their personal story of like, I just got to do something this seat, it's killing me, and it just became this. I guess I'd say it was eye opening how important it was. People that they're passionate about cycling, and here they are. They're there for the event, and they're like desperate almost. Some of the people, they're like, tell them the saddle's guaranteed. 30-day money back. I think it'll work for you. So they tested out. We had a little bike fit set up. I guess a surprise to me, it's something I would want, but I wouldn't expect it, is people coming back after the race and just like the look on their face and they're like, thank you. There's such a really a deep thanks that the saddle worked for them. So that was
Yeah.
it was very rewarding. It felt validating, and taking pictures of people, and they were just so happy.
People bought a saddle before the race,
Yes.
and then the first time they rode it was in the
In
race.
the race.
And then they came back to you after the race and said, thank you, this worked.
Yes, they made a point. They said, I wanted to come back to tell you thank you that. And one of the more memorable ones, the husband, he says, you have no idea what this means for her. And it kind of got me. It was one of those things, the emotion of it. You think, wow, because I think as being a chiropractor and treating patients, I've always helped people. And going in to make the seat, it's really how I approached that. And I would love to create a seat that would make people happy, comfortable, and it's the same kind of reward that people thanking you. I'm like, I'm just happy that they got to experience it. And if I wasn't at the event, they wouldn't have met me. So it was really nice.
Yeah, well, so that leads into another question. How do you sell something like a bike seat online where normally you'd have to touch it and feel it and sit on it and test it? You mentioned the money back guarantee. Has that been helpful?
Yeah, I think it's a big. It removes that barrier, like no risk, and I think probably the biggest thing is describing it is still hard for people. They just can't get past padding's padding. And so the emphasis has been on the reactive padding. It's patented by a doctor cyclist. Like, we want to get that out there. And I think the number one thing probably is that 30-day money back guarantee. We just want you to try it. So if people would take that chance, they have no risk. They send it back if it doesn't work for them. So probably close to 20% on average of repeat customers, they'll buy more than one seat. And
Wow.
and the reviews tell that story too. So it's very rewarding. I think the social proof, people can go to the website and see that. At events, though, that's where there's a little more electricity because people are there. They're picking it up and they hold it. And they'll say, I've seen your ads, and that's fun. That's super fun.
Did you expect that type of response? I mean, you're launching something new, doing something new, then you're starting to get the reviews on the website, the direct personal feedback, the try it, you like it. Like you're starting to have those interactions with real live people. Did you expect that sort of response?
No, it's interesting just the way it all kind of comes together. Like the thought of being at the event, or go to events, run ads. You got so many things going, and then you start to see the layers that being out in front of people, and then getting that feedback. Like, I was surprised how much people were saying, "Wow, you did this, you made this." Like, people were very interested. It was very, that was pretty fun. And but to have people tell you what a high quality product you have, like, I know it went into it, and I know what the other factories do, and the work that kind of went in to make it what it is. So it's so satisfying. Uh,
Yeah.
every I was thinking about how that came out is everybody must think, oh, our product's the best, and in marketing people say that, but people are praising and even replying after they buy, thank you for producing such a high quality product. Like people are taking the extra effort. They already have the seat, they're happy, they've reviewed it, and then some of the interactions like goes back to being surprised. I feel so much more like connected to the people, and
Yeah.
and again, to have them see it and try it is better. In person is really good. I enjoy that.
Yeah. Then the last 2 years, getting launched as a new brand in a very competitive space, competing against large bike companies with probably bigger marketing budgets than
Yeah.
you have.
Yes.
What were some of the unexpected challenges that you faced in the last couple of years to get sort of launching?
Yeah, that's a great question. Learning a lot as we go, but just to get yourself out there, and just the algorithm and that kind of challenges the like the creative, like everything that goes into it. It seems very like, oh, that's all you gotta do is just put stuff out there, and being seen, and then being more familiar, where people start saying, yeah, I've seen your ads. They get a little more familiar, and I think through emails and the comments, like being involved on social media, replying to customers. And I think initially it just seems very straightforward, and then as you get in it, I like to say layers is usually how I look at it. There's different things that start to contribute. And boy, when people are commenting that I love this saddle, it's great, and people go, oh, which one did you get, or is it really this good? And just to watch people interact online, that's really fun. I love seeing that. But I do feel like that it takes time, and I'm not patient really typically with stuff, and so you want it, but when you see the successes there, it's rewarding. But yeah, it's a journey,
Yeah, journey. So how do you do distribution? Are you only on the website and direct to consumer, or do you have channels or plans for
Oh yeah,
channels?
I do have some independent bike shops and bike fitters that I distribute with, and that's more of a referral basis. I've met some at biking events like Sea Otter, and that's been really really good. I'm now starting to go into more. I want to try to get more distribution, but primarily in the direct to consumer side, and doing the marketing, the social media ads. That's worked. That's our main sales channel. But what's really great is these bike fitters deal with a lot of people that have problems, and so they love the saddles, and we're going to start growing that more in 2026.
Yeah. So anybody listening, if you're running a bike shop, call Patrick, talk
Yes,
to
please.
Patrick, because your customers will be happy that you're solving
Yes, thank
the
you for that.
bike seat, yeah,
Yeah,
the bike
definitely.
seat pain problem. What about things that were unexpected in the last year? Sort of, you're launching a brand, you're new to the space. What cropped up that you didn't expect?
I think some of it's on my side of just wanting to do more, and in running a business is like you've got to figure out how much money you're spending on things like to expand the product line. Like I was actually surprised that we ended up doing more than I thought I would. And but I think that fluid nature where the sales growing and being able to spend more and keep that momentum going. But it's very interesting because it's things aren't always going to go straight up, which we all wish that was how it worked, but we've been successful, and it's been I feel very fortunate that things are going the way they are, and it's just that you get that, like doing some of the same things, and all of a sudden things go, and then other times when things change, it's being surprised by how the I'm trying to think of a better way to say it, but I guess it's the rhythms of it, or like doing an event. So you get a lot more attention, you get out there, and then when you're in between events, it's almost like trying to slow down, I guess. it surprised me how often I'd be getting ahead of myself and I just have to slow down. And yeah, I guess it's tricky because I feel fortunate. I want to say like things have gone really well, and like I'm happy with the flow of things. And maybe like how the algorithm will change, and all of a sudden that's kind of like one of those hiccups. You can't do anything about it, and that's my perspective. I just know other business owners talk about that a lot, and so that was probably the biggest thing was with growth, and did a couple more events. I guess it's like seeing the bigger picture. Like it's like being in business, not thinking about, well, when we get here, I'll do this. Like I kind of felt like that might have been a good surprise to share. I felt like I'm doing all these things. I've come a long way from the beginning. At first, I just sitting on my hands. What do I do? How do I deal with all these things?
You're a startup, you're new. How have you handled the resourcing of it? Like, what kind of help have you gotten or needed? How have you prioritized where you spend your time? Because you can't do everything
Yes,
yourself, or maybe you can.
yeah.
You might be that guy.
I'm trying. I've continued to see patients part time, about 15 hours a week. So it helps on the lifestyle side, and then also I could support the business if needed. And I've self funded it all along. And I was fortunate to have someone see that for me to expand that, like, using your credit cards, using your savings, you're putting a lot, the entrepreneurship, path is not always, I mean, I should say it's not very easy. I'm more cautious. I guess I started a little bit more hold back. I didn't want to try to do too much. And in the second year, I was like, let's do this, and I started spending more. So I think it is a balance. I just trust that we keep going. Things are going the right way. As I say, it takes a lot of cash to grow. And so I've always been, aware of that. Being in practice still, it's mixed, right? It's like, I wish I was just doing Zeta Saddles full time because I know I could put 100% myself in it, but I'd be more stressed out probably. So some ways it's a balance.
Yeah.
But yeah,
In a lot of ways, 2025 was an interesting year. Since you have supplies, you have manufacturing in China, I think. How did that affect you, this tariff conversation, the manufacturing issues? How did you sort of navigate your way through that?
yeah, that was an interesting time. I think I'm very fortunate where some of the saddles we launched to begin with, I bought larger quantities. And so the number one and number two bestsellers, I had a good amount of them. I was able to like do smaller reorders on two of those saddles. So I really didn't get impacted as much. And the group I work with, they've been really helpful, even to say we held off putting something through. Was it June, July? There was a point where there was some meetings in Switzerland, so U.S. and China, and she said, "Well, why don't we wait through the weekend? We'll see how that goes, and then, but we have everything ready to push through." And there was an adjustment to the tariffs, and then we did the order. So it's it was nice that they were helpful in that. And but yeah, you're pretty much stuck. You just gotta roll with it. And but I'm pretty fortunate. I didn't have like the bigger orders that I did in 2023. That was just to seed it. I took a pretty big chunk of money and bought extra inventory. So been able to kind of, I guess you say, subsist and keep going with what we have.
If you were to meet yourself a couple of, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what advice would you give someone in your situation? They're getting ready to launch. They're trying to decide if they can solve a problem or make a product or compete against big guys. What advice would you give somebody 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with the hindsight, I feel like is getting clarity around your next steps and only focusing on those next steps. It's easy to get ahead of yourself. Like I feel like I need to know this, I need to know that, I better prepare. And even wanting to have other say products to add on. And if you realize to get that product, especially if you're at the point you've already realized, hey, this checks a lot of boxes. This is gonna solve a problem. This is gonna help people. And is your market big enough? You have to know that. Otherwise, it may not be worth taking all the risks. So I would tell someone, or even myself, when I look back, I would tell someone that get clarity around what problem you're solving, who are your customers. And if you just stay in that space and you just start each milestone from there, you got to get prototypes or you got to get product. And if you just focus on that, it's very easy to get distracted. Weeks and months go by. So I guess it's just being disciplined to that. Stick to your milestones. Don't get scattered. And you'll get momentum that way. That's really the key, is how do you get momentum? And I think that's very valuable, because that would have helped me. I was overwhelmed with all the production and the prototyping, and then they're not ready when they're supposed to be. So you get kind of upset, you get stressed out. But
yeah. All right. So you've got focus, momentum. What's the third thing that you would give as advice to other founders, fledglings?
I'd say I like the way they phrase it, like get out of the building. I would say get out and talk.
That's a real good one.
Get out, talk. Thank you. Talk to people. Especially when you have a product or a prototype, but get out and talk to people. Say, hey, can I just ask you a few questions? And I think I ended up doing that because I was fortunate having patients that cycle. And so many people, they come in for some kind of, I'm treating their leg, and we're talking about bikes and bike seats and, upcoming events. And so I kind of was fortunate to be kind of in the building with customers. But I wasn't far enough to, I tell them about what I'm creating, and they're like, well, I can't wait. When will you have it? And so, but getting out of the building would be great advice. You got to get out.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to reassure that you actually have something that people want. And it may even change your idea of what you're going to create if you're creating it as I did.
100%.
Yeah.
That's that one really resonates with me as well.
Awesome.
Well, I really appreciate your insight and your willingness to share, and some really good advice. This has just been fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Mitch. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that and found some information in there that is actionable and helps you to grow your business. As you may or may not know, in marketing, we've been doing email marketing for companies for 18 years now. We know a thing or two because we've learned a thing or two. But I want to make you an offer. The first thing we do when we take on a new e-commerce client is to build out their welcome series. It's not flashy, but it is consistently one of the largest revenue generators of all the flows that we install. And most brands don't have a good one. So if you feel like you might not have a good one, I want to give you a head start. Send me your site. Just send me an email to mitch@zinmarketing.com about a custom welcome series flow for your brand. The flow, the angles, all the copy that you use. Basically enough material to basically make it live. Free money, if you will. Just done for you, no strings attached. I'll send everything back via email. Send an email to mitch@zinmarketing.com. Free welcome flow.